Hello students, welcome to my channel Hans Commerce Tutorial for the lectures on commerce, accounts, finance and management. My suggestion to you, before watching the video, please go to the description below my video. You'll find a link there. Take a printout of the problems given in the link and keep it ready before watching the video so that you can be able to understand the problem, the solution and the explanation to get the maximum benefit from the lectures. Thank you. Hello students. Now we start the problems on amalgamation of companies. Previous video we have completed the completely theory part of the topic amalgamation of companies. So we have discussed the meaning of the term company, amalgamation of companies. Then what are the different types of amalgamation? Amalgamation in the nature of merger, amalgamation in the nature of purchase. Then we have discussed about purchase consideration, the amount payable by the purchasing company, transferee company to the transferor company. Different methods are there for calculating PC. Net payment lump sum method, net payment method, net assets method, exchange of shares method. So different methods are there for payment of PC. Then we have seen the journal entries to be passed in the books of the transferor company. The maximum 12 entries we have discussed already. Then some 4-5 entries are there in the books of the transferee company. So these are the things we have discussed in detail in the video of in the previous video. So if you have not gone through that theory video, please go back to the theory video. Completely watch completely listen, completely see what we have, what are the topics we have in amalgamation of companies. Then come to the problem. Without understanding the theory, it will be very, very difficult to understand and do the problem. So in order to have a complete thorough knowledge on this topic of amalgamation of companies, first watch the theory video, then come to problems. Now we'll start the problems. First, we'll do the short problems on amalgamation of companies. After that, we'll do the long problem. The short problems are particularly regarding the calculation of purchase consideration. Purchase consideration is the amount payable by the transferee company to the transferor company. Earlier, PC was purchase consideration will be taken of all the amounts which are paid by purchasing company to the vendor company. But according to AS14, now AS14 says PC includes only those amounts which are paid to equity shareholders of transferor company, not any other payment. That's why payment made to debenture holders or payment for liquidation expenses will not come under calculation of PC. In calculation of PC, only that item will come which is paid to the equity shareholders of transferor company. That's it. That point we have to remember. Debentures will not be taken in the calculation of PC. Now, first we'll do the short problems. Hope you have taken out the printout of the problems given in the link. Without problems, you cannot understand. So before watching these problems, go to the description. There's a link there. Take a printout of the problems and keep it beforehand while watching the video. Then only you can understand it. Now, first, A limited is absorbed by B limited. Remember the wordings. A limited is absorbed by B limited. So A limited is the transferor company, winding up company. And B limited is the purchasing company, transferee company. The consideration being the assumption of liabilities. The discharge of debentures at a premium of 10% by the issue of 9% debenture in B limited. तो A limited में जो debentures हैं वो डिबेंजर्स को बी लिमिटेड टेक ओवर कर रहा है, टेक ओवर करके पुराने डिबेंजर कैंसिल करके अपने नए डिबेंजर इश्यू कर रहा है. बट दिस विल नॉट बी टेकन इनटू अकाउंट व्हाइल कैलकुलेटिंग द पीसी. इन द पीसी वी विल नॉट टेक इनटू अकाउंट दिस डिबेंजर्स पेमेंट. नाउ ए पेमेंट ऑफ कैश ₹30 पर शेयर. पर शेयर का मतलब है ये 30 rupees इज पेड टू शेयर होल्डर्स. सो दिस 30 rupees विल बी टेकन इनटू अकाउंट. तो पर शेयर 30 rupees the transferee company is paying, B limited is paying, and exchange of 3 rupees 10 shares in B limited at an agreed value of 15 rupees per share for every share in A limited. For every one share in A limited, B limited issues 3 shares. 3 shares of rupees 10 each, but issued at an agreed price of 15 rupees, 5 rupees premium. And payment of liquidation expenses 6,000. Liquidation expenses are also paid by B Limited. But just now I told this liquidation expense will not be a part of PC. Now balance sheet of A Limited is given. A Limited is the transferor company, vendor company. So share capital 50,000 equity shares of rupees 50 each fully paid. Remember, general reserve P&L account, debentures, creditors, goodwill, land and building, plant and machinery, stock in trade, cash at bank. Calculate the purchase consideration. Now see here, there are different methods of calculating PC. First method, lump sum method. Lump sum method means a single amount will be quoted by the transferee company to the transferor company. That is not applicable here. Second one is net assets method. Net assets method will be applied whenever any form of payment is missing. If any one of the form of payment is missing, for example, B Limited says we will issue some 50,000 shares of rupees 10 each and the balance in cash. This balance in cash is the missing figure. In that case, we apply net assets method. Third one is net payment method. Net payment method will be applied when all the forms of payments are given. Now in this problem, the different forms of payments are given. So we apply net payment method to calculate the PC. So what are the payments the B Limited is making to A Limited? Rupees 30 per share of A Limited. A Limited के एक शेयर के ऊपर 30 रुपीस कैश. अब जितने भी शेयर्स है उसको 30 से मल्टीप्लाई कर लेंगे. A Limited में 50,000 शेयर्स है, तो 50,000 into 30 you will get the cash payment. Now secondly, for every one share in A Limited, the B Limited issues 3 equity shares. For every one share, 3 shares will be issued. But 50,000 shares they are having. So 50,000 into 3, 1,50,000 equity shares will be issued by B Limited to A Limited. The face value of each share is 10 rupees, but it is issued at an agreed price of 15 rupees. Now see how we have calculated the PC. Calculation of PC, shares in B Limited. For every one share in A Limited, B Limited issues 3 shares. For 50,000 shares in A Limited, how many shares in B Limited? तो A Limited के पास 50,000 शेयर्स हैं, तो 50,000 शेयर के बदले में कितने शेयर्स B Limited देगा? तो 50,000 divided by 1 into 3, you will get 1,50,000 shares. In other words, B Limited issues 1,50,000 shares of rupees 10 each, but issued at an agreed price of 15 rupees. 15 rupees. So 1,50,000 into 15, 22,50,000 rupees. So shares. The value of shares issued by B Limited to A Limited is 22,50,000. Now cash. For every one share in A Limited, cash rupees 30. It is given in the problem. For 50,000 shares in A Limited, how much will be the cash? So 50,000 divided by 1 into 30, that will come to 15 lakh. So B Limited pays 15 lakh rupees cash and shares 1,50,000 shares for an amount of rupees 22,50,000. You add up both, 37,50,000 is the total purchase consideration, PC. That's it. This is the first problem on calculation of PC. Now see the second problem. Ascertain the amount of purchase consideration payable by Y Limited to X Limited. Y Limited is paying to X Limited. In other words, X Limited is the transferor company, vendor company. Y Limited is the purchasing company, transferee company. On the basis of the following information, balance sheet of X company is given. Vendor company balance sheet is given. Share capital 5,000, equity share of 10 each, for 100 each fully paid. General reserve, bills payable, sundry creditors. So 2 outside liabilities are there, bills payable and sundry creditors. Goodwill, building, machinery, stock, bank, preliminary expenses. This preliminary expenses given on the asset side is a fictitious asset, imaginary asset that will not be realizable. Y Company Limited agrees to take over the business of X Company on the following terms. Now Y Company is the purchasing company. They are taking over the business of X Company. On what terms? Building and machinery are taken over at their book values. Whatever balance sheet values, building and machinery, building का value 2 lakh है, machinery का value 2,20,000 है, यही value से Y Limited ले रहा है. then stock 10% depreciation. जो स्टॉक है एक्स लिमिटेड में स्टॉक 1,30,000 है, तो 1,30,000 में से 10% depreciate कर दो बोलो. At that value, Y Limited is taking over. Then it does not take over bank balance. The bank balance of X Limited will not be taken over by Y Limited. Then it is estimated that the liability in respect of creditors will amount to 62,000. Actual the creditors given in the balance sheet of X Limited is 75,000. X Limited के बैलेंस शीट में 75,000 क्रेडिटर्स हैं, लेकिन Y Limited कह रहा है कि these creditors will take over for rupees 62,000 only. Agreed value of creditors 62,000. The purchase consideration is satisfied by the issue of 3,000 equity share of 100 each at an agreed price of 110 rupees per share. तो PC पेमेंट के टाइम पर Y Limited कह रहा है कि we will issue 3,000 shares. The face value of each share is 100 rupees, but it is issued at an agreed price of 110. So 300 into 3,000 into 110, you will get 3,30,000. 3,000 into 110, you will get 3,30,000. So 3,30,000 के shares दे रहा हूं. And the balance in cash, wow, new point. Balance in cash. Cash we don't know, missing figure. So whenever balance in cash is given, we have to apply net assets method to calculate the PC, purchase consideration. The first problem we have done on net payment method. Second problem, net assets method. What is the difference between these two? In the first problem, all the forms of payments are given. How much shares are given, how much cash is completely given. Second problem, cash is not given. Balance in cash it is saying. We don't know how much is the cash. So we apply net assets method. Under net assets method, we take up the agreed value of all assets taken over. From that, deduct all agreed value of liabilities taken over. The resulting figure net worth, that is the purchase consideration. Now see carefully here. Calculation of purchase consideration, net assets method. Assets taken over at agreed values. Building and machinery are taken over at book values. It is given in the problem. Balance sheet values. Stock is taken at 10% depreciation. The balance sheet value of stock is 1,30,000 minus depreciation 10%, 1,17,000. Goodwill is taken over at 90,000. It is given in the problem. Goodwill at 90,000. So take the total of all the assets, 6,27,000 is the agreed value of all assets taken over. Minus liabilities taken over at agreed values. Creditors 62,000. Actually balance sheet value of creditors 75,000. But Y Limited is taking over at an agreed value of 62,000. Bills payable, it is taking over. Y Limited says we are taking over the business. Means all the assets and liabilities are taken over. Except one bank balance is not taken. Right? So bills payable, the balance sheet value 25,000. Total liabilities 87,000. So 6,27,000 minus 87,000, 5,40,000 is the purchase consideration, PC. Now settlement of PC. How this 5,40,000 will be settled? It is given in the problem. 3,000 equity shares will be issued by Y Limited. The face value of each share is 100 rupees, but it is issued at 110 rupees. So 110 into 3,000, 3,30,000. So out of 5,40,000, 3,30,000 worth of shares are issued, and the balance in cash, the balancing figure. So total PC 5,40,000. Out of 5,40,000, 3,30,000 rupees paid in shares. So remaining 5,40,000 minus 3,30,000 balancing figure 2,10,000. This will be paid in cash. This is the settlement of PC. So two problems we have done on calculation of purchase consideration. Now see the problem number 3. X Company Limited sells its assets to Y Company Limited. So we can say Y Company Limited is the transferee company. X Limited vendor company. Transferor company. For rupees 3 lakh, purchase consideration is given. And a Y company take over X company at a purchase consideration of 3 lakh. Payable as to 1,20,000 in cash and as to 1,80,000 by the allotment of 12,000 equity share of 20 each of Y company, rupees 15 per share paid up to the shareholders of X Company Limited. देखिए, तो 3 lakh rupees is the purchase consideration paid by Y company to X company. How it is paid? 1,20,000 rupees are paid in cash, and remaining 1,80,000 rupees are paid in the form of shares. So So how many shares? 12,000 shares it is issuing. The value of face value of each share is 20 rupees, but the paid up value is only 15 rupees. So we multiply 12,000 into 15, you will get 1,80,000. So out of 3 lakh, 1,20,000 cash, 1,80,000 shares. This is the PC settlement. Now, give necessary journal entries for recording purchase consideration in the books of X Company Limited. Which is the X Company Limited? Transferor company, vendor company. Previous video in theory I explained you 12 entries are there. The first entry will be assets transferred to realization. Second entry, liabilities transferred to realization. Third entry, PC due. Fourth entry, PC receipt. So in this problem it is asking you to pass the entries only for PC. PC due and PC receipt. So third entry and fourth entry only we are required to pass in this problem, right? Come on. What is the third entry? PC due. Transferee company account data to realization. Remember, already I told you in the theory video, you have to be perfect on the journal entries. Accounting entries, you must be perfect. Not only you have to remember, but also sequence you have to remember. Which is the first, which is the second, which is the third. The third entry, PC due, transferee company account data to realization. What is the name of the transferee company in our problem? Y Limited is the transferee company. तो पहले हम जर्नल एंट्री पास करेंगे X लिमिटेड में. जर्नल एंट्रीज इन द बुक्स ऑफ X लिमिटेड, ट्रांसफरर कंपनी. तो फर्स्ट एंट्री, Y लिमिटेड अकाउंट डेटा टू रियलाइजेशन 3 लाख रुपीस परचेस कंसिडरेशन. नरेशन क्या लिखी है? बीइंग द PC ड्यू. Being the PC due, purchase consideration due. Now fourth entry will be purchase consideration received. जो PC आया उसकी एंट्री. तो जो जो चीजें आ रहे हैं उसको डेबिट करेंगे और देने वाले को क्रेडिट करेंगे. हु इज द गिवर? Y लिमिटेड इज द गिवर. तो Y लिमिटेड शुड बी क्रेडिटेड. एंड व्हाट इज कमिंग इन? कैश इज कमिंग इन. कैश को डेबिट करेंगे. और इक्विटी शेयर्स आर कमिंग इन. तो इक्विटी शेयर्स को डेबिट करेंगे. तो एंट्री विल बी इक्विटी शेयर्स इन Y लिमिटेड अकाउंट डेटार 1,80,000. कैश अकाउंट डेटार 1,20,000 to Y limited account 3 lakh. Shares in Y limited account data 1,80,000. Cash account data 1,20,000 to Y limited account 3 lakh. Being the PC received. So first entry being the PC due. Second entry being the PC received. So it is asking in the problem to pass the journal entry only for PC. The 2 entries. Over. Next problem, fourth problem. Following the question number 3, give journal entries in the books of Y Limited. Same problem repeated, but the thing is previously we have passed the journal entry in the books of X Limited, transferor company. अब वही 2 entries pass करना है in the books of the transferee company, Y Limited. तो journal entries in the books of Y Limited. First entry will be business purchased and PC due. First entry, business purchased and PC due. Entry will be business purchase account data to liquidator of X Limited. जब X Limited वाउंड अप हो रही है तो वाउंड अप करने के लिए जो पर्सन है लिक्विडेटर है, लिक्विडेटर को पेमेंट करना है. लिक्विडेटर को पेमेंट करना है तो बिजनेस परचेज अकाउंट डेटा टू लिक्विडेटर ऑफ X Limited 3 lakh. Being the business purchased and PC due. Being the business purchased and PC due. अब PC paid. सेकेंड एंट्री विल बी PC पेड. अब PC पे कर रहे हैं तो किसको पे कर रहे हैं? लिक्विडेटर को पे कर रहे हैं. तो लिक्विडेटर ऑफ X लिमिटेड अकाउंट डेटार 3 लाख. 2, व्हाट वी आर पेइंग? अब Y लिमिटेड क्या पे कर रहा? कैश पे कर रहा 1,20,000. इक्विटी शेयर्स दे रहा 1,80,000. तो टू इक्विटी शेयर कैपिटल 1,80,000 टू कैश 1,20,000. Being the PC paid. That's it. So these are the entries in the books of transferor company and these are the entries in the books of the transferee company regarding the PC. That's it. Come on, now we'll start problem number 5. 4 problems we have completed. 5th problem, you see, P Limited was absorbed by Q Limited. P Limited was absorbed by Q Limited. That means P Limited is the transferor company, vendor company, and Q Limited transferee. The realization expense of P Limited amounted to 5,800 realization expenses. Give journal entries in the books of P Limited in each of the following cases. So we have to pass the journal entry only for realization expenses, right? And when the expenses are borne by P Limited, and B, when the expenses are paid by Q Limited in addition to purchase consideration. Now see carefully. We have to pass the journal entry only for realization expense in the books of P Limited. P Limited is the vendor company, transferor. The journal entry in the books of the P Limited, transferor company. When expenses are borne by P Limited, अगर वो expenses P Limited खुद पे करना है according to the agreement, P Limited themselves they have to pay the realization expense. So realization expense accounted out to bank 5,800. Being the realization expenses paid, narration दे देंगे. Being the realization expenses paid. First case over. Now second case, when expenses are paid by Q Limited in addition to PC. Now two cases are given. The second case, if there is an agreement that realization expenses should be paid by Q Limited, which is the Q Limited transferee company. Agreement के हिसाब से transferee company को pay करना है. तो what are the journal entries to be passed in the books of P Limited? Vendor company के books में क्या entry रहेंगी? अगर ये expenses Q Limited pay करा तो यहाँ पर there are two alternatives in this case. The first alternative is no entry at all. Suppose my company is P Limited. I will not pass any entry because realization expenses are paid by Q Limited. Q Limited खुद pay कर दे रहा. तो why to pass any entry? Ignore. No entry will be passed. First alternative. अगर entry pass करना ही है तो फिर दो entries pass करना. If you want any one of the alternative you have to follow. Whether first alternative or second. The best alternative is first alternative. Don't pass any entry because the expenses are paid by Q Limited. और अगर pass करना चाह रहे हैं तो फिर दो entries pass करना. First entry Q Limited account data to bank. Assume ये करेंगे कि realization हमारी कंपनी का और हमारी कंपनी P Limited है. We are paying from our pocket 5,800 to the person who is liquidating the company, liquidator. Liquidator को हम अपने पॉकेट से पे कर रहे हैं, लेकिन किसके बिहाफ में पे कर रहे हैं? Q Limited के. Actually it has to be borne by Q Limited. We are paying from our own pocket, so we pass the entry Q Limited account data to bank. पैसे जा रहे हैं, बैंक को क्रेडिट करो. लेकिन फिर ये पैसे आ जा रहे हैं. Q Limited is returning back that money to us. Then bank account data to Q Limited. What will happen in these two cases? Q Limited will get cancelled, bank account will get cancelled. No, null, no effect at all. So why to pass these two entries? We'll follow the first entry. No entry will be passed if expenses, realization expenses are paid by the transferee company, Q Limited. That's it. Now see the next problem, fifth one. P Limited was absorbed by Q Limited. Oh sorry, just now completed. X company takes over the business of Y company. X company takes over the business of Y company. So Y company is the transferor company. X company is the transferee company. And agrees to pay a sum of 10 lakh by way of PC. Purchase consideration is given 10 lakh. The following are the assets and liabilities taken over by X company. Land and building 2,50,000, plant and machinery 4 lakh, stock and trade 2,20,000, sundry debtors are 80,000 subject to a provision of 5%. So there is a provision for doubtful debts 5%. 5% of 80,000 it comes to 4,000. Cash and bank balance 25,000, sundry creditors 50,000, bills payable 15,000. Give journal entries required in the books of X Company Limited for recording the assets and liabilities taken over. So we are required to pass the journal entry in the books of X Company. X Company is the transferee company, purchasing company. तो purchasing company में हमको journal entry pass करना है only for assets and liabilities taken over, right? Now see here, this is the entry. Journal entry in the books of X Company Limited, transferee company or purchasing company. Business purchase account data to liquidator of Y Limited 10 lakh. First entry, business purchased and PC due. Business purchase कर लिए, कितने में purchase करें? 10 lakh. तो business purchase account data 10 lakh to liquidator of Y company. Liquidator of Y company 10. First entry. Now assets and liabilities taken over. अब assets and liabilities taken over के time पर या तो goodwill हो सकता या capital reserve. We assume that this amalgamation is in the nature of purchase, not in the amalgamation in the nature of merger. because we are not given the complete data, we assume that it is amalgamation in the nature of purchase. So in that case, the balancing figure between debit and credit will be either goodwill or capital reserve. Either goodwill or capital reserve. So first of all, goodwill account debtor balancing figure, don't take the amount, just keep it blank. Only balancing figure, अगर आया तो balancing figure लेंगे, नहीं आएगा तो just put a dash. So land and building given in the problem 2,50,000, plant and machinery 4 lakh, stock 2,20,000, debtors 80,000, cash and bank balance 20. Debtors should be taken at gross value. The gross value of debtors are 80,000 and there is a provision of doubtful debts of 5% that will be credited. To sundry creditors 50,000, to bills payable 15,000, to provision for doubtful debts 5% of 80,000, 4,000. To business purchase 10 lakh. Already you are aware about these entries. In the theory video I have explained you in detail. The second entry regarding assets and liabilities taken over. First take goodwill account debtor balancing figure, अगर आया तो लेंगे, नहीं आया तो dash डाल देंगे. But we'll make a provision. Goodwill आ सकता होगा. Then we debit all assets taken over, credit all liabilities taken over, and credit the business purchase account. First business purchase account was debited. Here business purchase account is credited. Right? Now we find out which side is more. Which side is more? We calculate. In our problem, credit side is more. If you add up 50,000, 15,000, 4,000 and 10,000, the credit side is more than debit side. Debit side is less. So balancing figure goodwill will take. So add up all these 4 amounts. From these 4 amounts, subtract these 5 amounts. Subtract all debit items. Then we'll get the balancing figure. The balancing figure of goodwill is 94,000. You are going to get here 94,000. तो ये प्रॉब्लम में नहीं दिया goodwill 94,000. After passing the entry, we come to know that there is a 94,000 goodwill. कैसा आया goodwill ये? The PC paid is more. The purchasing company has paid more purchase consideration than the worth of the company. कंपनी के वर्थ से ज्यादा पेमेंट करे तो गुडविल. एग्जांपल, आपकी कंपनी 10 लाख रुपए की है, मैं 12 लाख रुपए पे करके आपके बिजनेस ले लो. आई एम पेइंग 12 लाख रुपीस टू गेट योर बिजनेस. The worth of the business is only 10 lakh. So why I am paying 12 lakh rupees? 2 lakh rupees I am paying for goodwill. Similarly, here also 10 lakh rupees they are paying. This credit side is more. Debit side is less. So balancing figure is goodwill. Being the assets and liabilities taken over. Next, now payment of PC. अब PC जब पे करेंगे तो किसको पे करेंगे? Liquidator of Y Limited. Y Limited is a transferor company. So liquidator of Y Limited account debtor 10 lakh to share capital 10 lakh, being the PC paid. That's it. These are the entries in the books of X company limited, transferee company. Now last and final problem, 7th one, short problems में last problem है. What will be the entry in the books of X company limited if the purchase consideration were to be 8,70,000 and the values of assets and liabilities are same as in question number 6. The same question is repeated, 7th problem. The only difference is the PC has been changed. Here the purchase consideration was 10 lakh. Now we have to suppose the purchase consideration is 8,70,000. In that case, what would be the entry? All the assets and liabilities are same what we have here. So first entry, business purchase account debtor to liquidator of Y Limited 8,70,000. Earlier it was 10 lakh, now it has 8,70,000. Same entry, second entry will pass goodwill account debtor. अगर goodwill आया तो लिखेंगे, नहीं आया तो just put a dash. अब land and building account debtor 2,50,000, plant and machinery 4 lakh, stock 2,20,000, debtors 80,000, cash and bank balance 25,000. Sundry creditors 50,000, bills payable 15,000, provision for doubtful debts 4,000, business purchase 8,70,000. Now what is happening here is debit column it is more. यहां पर ये डेबिट साइड का टोटल करे तो ज्यादा आ रहा, क्रेडिट साइड का टोटल कम आ रहा. तो इसका मतलब बैलेंसिंग फिगर यू आर गेटिंग ऑन द क्रेडिट साइड. हियर बैलेंसिंग फिगर यू आर गेटिंग ऑन द डेबिट साइड. डेबिट साइड बैलेंसिंग फिगर आया तो गुडविल, क्रेडिट साइड बैलेंसिंग फिगर आया तो कैपिटल रिजर्व. राइट? नाउ एड अप ऑल द डेबिट आइटम्स. वी आर नॉट हैविंग गुडविल. वी डोंट हैव गुडविल. गुडविल तब आएगा जब क्रेडिट साइड ज्यादा रहा तो. इन आर प्रॉब्लम क्रेडिट साइड पे ज्यादा है, क्रेडिट साइड पे कम है, डेबिट साइड पे ज्यादा है, तो वी डोंट हैव गुडविल, पुट ए डैश. प्रोविजन करके रख दिए थे, यूज हुआ तो यूज करेंगे, अदरवाइज पुट अ डैश. नाउ take the total of the debit columns minus all the 4 items of the credit column. You will get the balancing figure. The balancing figure capital reserve is 36,000. Balancing figure 36,000. Take the total of debit items minus these 4 items, you will get 36,000 as the balancing figure, capital reserve. Last and final entry, payment of PC. Liquidator of Y limited account debtor to share capital, 8,70,000. That's it. So we have completed the short problems. In the next video, we'll start the long problems.